Hello, everyone. You're welcome to the Women Lighthouse podcast. This is a community for purpose-driven women who desire to live their dreams and aspirations. Our mission is to inspire you to live your dreams one day at a time while serving as a beacon of hope and guidance. We will be addressing various issues related to womanhood. Join me as we explore our journey of life together. I am your host, Uyime Hamilton. Hello, ladies. You're welcome to another episode of the Women Lighthouse podcast. It's always great to have you tune in on the show. Today, I'm going to be sharing 7 reasons why you should go for psychotherapy. And we'll be exploring this topic because it benefits us as women and our overall well-being. And whether you are hesitant about seeking professional help or you just want to know about what the benefits of therapy are, you're going to learn a lot through my experience why you should seek psychotherapy. When we talk about psychotherapy, basically it's a form of treatment that involves talking with a specialist, that's a trained psychotherapist or counselor or mental health provider. And the aim is to help you identify or address some troubling emotions, thoughts, or behaviors that you may be experiencing. And in the part of the world where we find ourselves, that's for me, for instance, the developing world, therapy is not a form of intervention that people readily seek when they are faced with a particular challenge that involves their mental health. And why is this the case? First, some people experience stigma when it comes to issues of mental health. And when we talk about mental health, we're not talking about when a person has experienced mental breakdown or severe depression or anxiety or mental illness. We're just talking about the basics of mental health, which is your mental well-being, your state of your health and how to handle your emotions. So people experience stigma when it comes to issues that have to do with the state of their mind or with how they handle their emotions. So rather than seek help, they would prefer to handle those issues by themselves, trial and error, and see if they would get better. Also, people lack an understanding of the benefits that come with psychotherapy, and that's why I'll be throwing more light on why you should go for psychotherapy. Then there could be issues of financial constraints. Sometimes to seek the help of a therapist could be pricey, but when you know the benefits outweighs the costs of what you would be paying, you can easily plan and budget for it. Then people face cultural and religious beliefs that basically when you're faced with a challenge, you go for counseling in church or in the mosques. You want to seek advice from people who may not necessarily be trained counselors. So there's also the religious belief of prayer answers all things. So instead of going to talk to a human being about what challenge you may be facing, you can as well talk to God and God would answer your prayers and sort everything out. So that religious belief also hinders people from seeking help from a therapist. Also, people trying to just cope with issues of their own because they don't want to divulge the deepest thoughts of their hearts or share it with anybody for fear of breach of confidentiality. So they would rather prefer to keep whatever things they are dealing with or whatever struggles they are dealing with personal and handle it by themselves. So before I go into why you should seek psychotherapy, I want to share a background story on why I decided to seek psychotherapy. I practice as a medical doctor. I have a fair knowledge of mental health, mental illnesses, and all that. And yes, I know that it's good to seek psychotherapy, but I never really considered myself needing psychotherapy because I didn't feel I had been through any form of traumatic experience to warrant me seeking psychotherapy. Yes, I'd seen people go through things, hurtful situations, and I would wonder how they get to deal with these challenges. But on my own part, I was involved in planning a webinar session on how to deal with trauma. And in the process of doing that, I got to also organize a trauma healing session for my mentor, basically organize the event. And she actually extended an invitation. I was like, hope you'll be attending. And I said, I just told her, okay, yes, I'll attend. Then when she sent some of the resources that we're going to be using for the healing session, and one of the questions she asked was like, we should reflect on what trauma is, what traumatic experience we've gone through, and all that. It now got me thinking that have I actually experienced any form of trauma? And I remember her defining trauma as something that happens not just to you, but happens in you. So you have an experience that you've been through, but that experience has a strong impact within you. So on thinking deeply, I now came to an understanding that I'd actually been through a traumatic experience, but I didn't pay much attention to it, so I didn't perceive it as trauma. And what is that experience? So while I was pregnant with my first child, the pregnancy was quite challenging, some health challenges here and there. So it was practically dragging myself from the beginning of the pregnancy up until the point I delivered. So when it came to considering whether we should have another child, and I remembered the experience of the first pregnancy, I just didn't want to go through that again. So it took a while for me to now convince myself and my spouse on we trying again. Then on getting pregnant with my second pregnancy, I lost two of my very good friends. One was a junior colleague who is also a friend, and the other was a senior friend, like a mentor, like a big sister to me. And they were all pregnancy related complications. And in fact, because of that experience, I experienced fear. I battled with fear during the course of my second pregnancy. Fear of losing the pregnancy, fear of dying, and it was just a battle. I practically had to pray my way through that experience, and I came out of it. Yes, I came out of it with a baby, came out of it healthy physically, but emotionally and mentally, it was a process I was still dealing with up until recently. So whenever after I had my second child, which was 2 years ago, the in fact anyone that asks me or tries to discuss anything pregnancy with me, I'm like, no. Before we got married, the plan was for us to have 4 kids. At the point of getting married, we stepped down to 3 kids. But with the experience from my first and second pregnancy, having more kids was just not an option for me. In fact, I'd pleaded with my husband, convinced him that I don't think I was interested in going through the process again because I knew how I didn't enjoy the pregnancy process and I just wasn't ready to have to go through that experience again. So I discovered that the traumatic experience I had from my first pregnancy and the losing of my very good friends in my second pregnancy had instilled so much fear in me that I just was not interested in trying again. So I'll take a pause and begin why you should consider psychotherapy. And the first reason for me was that having to go through that therapy session I went through helped me face my fears, not alone, but with the support of both the therapist and the people I had a group session with. There are options of a one-on-one therapy session and also options of group therapy. So the beauty of going for therapy is you identify the challenge you have and you are able to confront that challenge, and you don't necessarily have to do it alone. For every time I had to confront the fear I experienced as a result of the traumatic experience I had, I was always defeated. I never wanted to even think of having another child or going through another pregnancy because I just couldn't imagine myself going through it. But when you have the support of people, there's a safe environment, a safe space, there's confidentiality, and you get to see from a different perspective other than your perspective, either the fact that people are going through a similar challenge that you may be going through or other challenges too, and they are able to go through it. And the guide of a professional to help you identify how to address your challenge, then you are sure of facing your fears with the needed support that you have at that point in time. Secondly, going through therapy helped me to take a step towards my healing journey. I didn't even know I was traumatized. I didn't know what I was going through at that point in time was trauma. But by the time I realized that actually the reason I am going through this is because of a traumatic experience, and I was able to understand what trauma is, why people experience trauma, how I can deal with trauma. I was able to identify all those from the therapy session I had. And I was able to understand the spiritual aspects of trauma, the mental aspects, the emotional aspects, analogies, and all that. It just opened my eyes to the world of healing that was ahead of me. And it was able to empower me to confront that trauma I was experiencing. And I am currently on the path of a healing journey. And why do I say so? I've come to that point where I've realized that, yes, bad things will always happen as long as we are on this side of eternity. Because as a result of the curse that was brought in by the disobedience of Adam and Eve, there would always be that experience. But the word of God says that amidst whatever trial you may be going through, God will not put more on you than you can bear. So I was able to understand that and know that even if I decide to go through the path of having another child, I don't have to go through it with fear in my heart. And that takes me to the next reason why you should consider therapies, so that you can fulfill your dreams. The truth is, once you go through an experience, a traumatic experience, and you allow that experience define you, it cripples you. And first, it cripples you with fear. It cripples you with frustration. It cripples you with anger and resentment, depending on whatever you went through is. But one thing you need to know is that when you go through therapy, you identify and you overcome the barriers that may be holding you back from pursuing your goals and your aspirations. So if you want to fulfill your dreams, despite the fact that you have been through one trying moment or the other, or one traumatic experience on the other, then going for therapy will help you take you through that path of navigating how you can overcome the challenges that affect you at that season of your life, so as to fulfill your dreams with confidence and purpose. And the next reason why you need to consider therapy is that it helps you help others find their healing. A broken person cannot heal another broken person. A doctor is someone who provides help to a sick person. If the doctor himself is sick and broken, he will not have what it takes to provide the necessary help for one who is also sick and broken. So if you want to help another person who may be going through something similar you are facing, engaging in therapy and working on your own well-being will be a way for you to set an example for others and contribute to their well-being. So if you want to go through finding healing for others, you have to begin by finding healing for yourself. And the fifth reason why you should go for psychotherapy is it helps you with accountability and clarity on your healing journey. There's something we call, it's just like, for instance, when you're on a fitness journey, if you're going to go on a fitness journey on your own, it can be quite challenging and tougher than if you were doing it with the support of others, like I've earlier mentioned. So also when it comes to psychotherapy, when you have accountability from your therapist or from the people that you attend a group therapy session with, you will be able to gain the valuable insights and guidance and even constructive feedback to help you navigate your healing process. There will be times that you will hit a bump road and you're confused on what step to take. But when you are in therapy, you are able to go through whatever challenge you may be facing and you can make progress on your healing journey. The next reason why you should go for psychotherapy is it helps you to improve your coping skills. Through therapy, you can learn effective coping mechanisms to deal with trauma and the effects of trauma. And it also empowers you to face life challenges with resilience and strength. So let me share an experience that occurred during the course of my therapy session. So on the last day of the therapy session, the therapy actually attended, it's a Christian-based trauma healing session. So on the last day of the session, we were to end with a hymn. So we sang the hymn In Christ Alone. And while singing that hymn, we came to the verse that talks about Jesus commands my destiny. So while I sang the hymn and I just said it, Jesus commands my destiny, immediately I broke down in tears. And there was this realization that there is nothing I would ever face on this side of eternity that I do not have the capacity to handle, because Jesus commands my destiny. So, many times we wonder, why do bad things happen to good people? Why does God allow bad things happen to us and all that? But that realization that whatever I am going through or whoever I am is because Jesus commands my destiny. So I learned that I could cope or handle anything that comes my way. I learned that in my therapy session. So therapy would help you effectively develop coping mechanisms to deal with your traumatic experience and the effects it may have had on you. And lastly, therapy would help you enhance your self-awareness. What do I mean by that? Therapy would encourage you to reflect. Like I told you, I never even thought I had gone through a traumatic experience. But when I knew I was going to attend the healing session, I had to reflect and think, which experience have I been through? And I was able to remember that, this thing I went through actually was and is a traumatic experience. So therapy would get you to that point of self-reflection and introspection. You'll begin to have a deeper understanding of your emotions. Why did you process things the way you processed it? How can you better process things if faced with a similar challenge? It opens you up to have a conversation with yourself and explore the situation beyond the superficial issue. So you go and you think deep within, and it helps you to understand yourself better. So that is the reason why you need to consider psychotherapy. Many times people feel like you should only go for therapy when you've gotten to that point where you've completely broken down and you're spiraling and things are just beyond control. But my advice for you is you don't even have to wait for things to go beyond your control. Once you begin to see certain signs or certain patterns or certain struggles that are beginning to affect your stability mentally and emotionally, I'll advise you seek professional help, not just mere advice or counsel from someone who is not trained and experienced, but from someone who is certified and has what it takes to hold your hand through that process before your life comes crumbling down. When you seek therapy, you can not only improve your own life, but you become compassionate and open-minded towards other people's experiences. It makes you less judgmental of people and more empathic and understanding. So I hope with this episode, I've been able to convince you and not confuse you on certain reasons why you should go for psychotherapy, because your mental health should be prioritized. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Women Light Out podcast. I hope you were inspired to keep taking steps towards living out your dreams. If you enjoyed this episode, we encourage you to share it with other women and leave us a review on our social media platform, which is in the description box. Also, feel free to subscribe to our channel to get notified of new episodes. Till I come your way on our next episode, keep living, keep dreaming. Bye for now.